This is a special edition of Dateline News and Conversation. For the past 10 days, I have stepped back and not listened to the continuous cacophony of noise about Israel's genocide of the Palestinian people. I have tuned out all the voices of the experts and analysts, and I have turned inward to find quiet peace and happiness. I have tried to stay in the moment, appreciating the beauty and life here in Yalta, in the Russian Federation. This time for meditation and reflection has given me a new perspective. I will now focus on how Russia and the Russians are viewing the turmoil engulfing the entire planet, their war for survival against the American hegemon, and life here in the Russian Federation. These past 2 days, I received an email together with a very long list of anti-nuclear activists, lawyers, academicians, and people concerned about the imminent and existential threat of nuclear war between the United States of America and Russia. A friend of the show for several years now, Francis A. Boyle, a doctor of law and professor of law at the University of Illinois Champaign, initiated an email with a condemnation of the United States belligerence that has brought humanity to the very brink of extinction. Here is part of what he said. Humanity needs Putin to stay calm, cool, and collected in the face of these madmen U.S. government officials. So far, Putin has been. Let us all hope and pray that Putin remains that way. This was my reply. As an expat living in Crimea for 4+ years now, I would like to add this to Francis Boyle's exceptional email. Not only has Putin remained cool, calm, and collected, but so have the Russian people. Putin knows very well that the future of humanity is in his hands. Most Russians are aware of how difficult the situation is for humanity today, but there are no signs here of nuclear hysteria, panic, fear, or depression. Russians don't go to sleep at night worrying they might not wake up in the morning. On the contrary, they, and me too, continue to live life to the fullest, attending civic events, concerts, and observing International Children's Day, Parents' Day, birthdays, and weddings. And yes, all the while, war rages on next door in Ukraine, and American and European long-range missiles and drones attack us here in Crimea every day. How is that? How can it be? One has to ask. Well, my oversimplified answer lies in the Russian soul. Think about it. 1,000 plus years unified by one language among 185 ethnic groups. Invasions by the Finns, Swedes, French, Germans, and now the USA for centuries. Despite losing millions and millions of lives, the Russian people remain strong, united, and convinced that they will not only survive this attempt to destroy them and their nation, but they are confident they will win. These are people who are believers in tradition, family values, and orthodoxy. They believe they are on the side of good and what is right and moral. People who have never lived here do not understand this Russian soul. They do not understand the Russian mentality. Pure and simple, they've never understood Russians. I have almost completely blocked out not only the mainstream media noise, but all of the alt media and war experts, most of whom miss the main thing about Putin and Russians. They are not weak, they are not timid, they are not afraid, and they will not be provoked. But they believe if you come here with a sword, you will die by the sword. Almost every Russian I know believes that God is on their side and that Russia's destiny is to save humanity from the overwhelming evil that is threatening human existence all over the world. The hope for humanity lies in the hands of Putin and the Russian people. My dear friend, David Hartsow, a Quaker and literally lifelong peace activist since he was a young boy, he brought this message to Red Square during the Cold War when he was a student in Germany. Here is what he replied to Francis Boyle's email. The question I have is why leaders in both the US and Russia are willing to play a game of nuclear chicken with one another, endangering the lives of billions of people. He continued, in order to show the other side that we are right, each side is willing to initiate what could so easily become a full-scale nuclear war that could kill all of us. Why would any leader in any country be willing to risk what is essentially the end of human life on our beautiful planet for any reason, even very legitimate concerns? He continued, no one will be able to say, we did it to protect our country. That is insane, whether said by leaders of the US or Russia or NATO leaders. Here is what I replied to David Hartsow. I agree with you that the people on this planet must rise up in unison in continuous nonviolent protest against governments that do not represent them. But parenthetically, simultaneously, Russia, along with China, are leading the effort to expand BRICS in pursuit of a new and just world order. I believe that is why Russia and China will not be provoked into a conflict that will end life on the planet. Their vision is of a new world order based on the respect for and sovereignty of all nations, the strict observance of international law and the principles of the UN Charter. They believe in peace for all. They believe in the development that respects the environment and benefits all people. And they believe in resolving differences through diplomacy and not force. Yes, this definitely is a risky, long-term vision that they hope will unite the rest of the planet. I also believe Russia and China are completely aware that the capitalist warmongers in their system is not sustainable and is in rapid decline. They know that the economies of the US and all of the European Union are about to collapse. So many of the financial experts and bankers in the United States and around the world have been predicting this situation for months now. Russia and China hope that such a collapse will bring an end to the colonial capitalist powers that are now threatening us all with extinction. Of this, I am quite certain, After reading the declarations of China and Russia last month, after reading and listening to the speeches and press conferences of President Putin and President Xi, China in particular does not hope for a hard crash of the US and global economy, but a soft landing, because the USA and all of Europe represent enormous markets for China, both in consuming Chinese-made everything and in the area of investing in development in many parts of the world. After studying this for the last 8 years, since I first came to Russia in 2016 to complete my film, 30 Seconds to Midnight, The Final Wake-Up Call, these are the thoughts and conclusions that I have come to. You will recall that this film was about the existential, real, and imminent threat of nuclear war between the United States and Russia. I just had to come to Russia to find out for myself how evil these Russian people are, how evil their leaders are, including President Putin. My eyes were opened, but I concluded the film with this question. Will the neocons, or whatever you want to call them in Washington, D.C., realize they have lost this epic battle for the future order of the world, take the whole world down with them in a nuclear Armageddon? Dr. Helen Caldicott, a dear friend who played a major role in this film, asked when pondering the unthinkable, are we an evolutionary aberration, designed in an evolutionary sense not to survive? At the time, I felt quite fearful and afraid that it would happen. And it seems that my fear was justified because of the nuclear gaslighting we are witnessing today. The unthinkable could happen even by accident or human error. Are there Dr. Strangeloves ready to push the button in Washington, D.C.? I hope not, but if there are, they most certainly have become evil incarnate. I realize now that I must focus on living life as best I can, recognizing all of the good the Creator has blessed us with. Blessed, being here in Yalta, I look to the sea and the mountains. I look to the humanity, family, and values of my Russian family and friends. Russians are not living in fear, but living and enjoying life. I have spent several hours strolling around central Yalta and the promenade these past few days. People, young and old, are going about their daily lives as they always have. There are no signs of fear. Oh, there are signs and banners over the roadways saying, "Together we will win." I saw a new one today in the city center that read, "The Russian world will defeat the empire of lies." Russians are different. They have a different mentality. They embody the Russian soul. The Russian leadership and military know that they are 15 to 20 years ahead of the USA in nuclear defense, nuclear weapons, over-the-horizon radar, and in space technology. And most of the Russian people believe this as well. They have seen this very day coming since Truman dropped the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And now the Russians are prepared. The Russians and the Chinese foresee the collapse of the US and global economy, and with that, the collapse of the US hegemon and its military presence all over the world. They hope there will be some who rise to leadership who will accept their new role as one among equals in the pursuit of a new world order where justice and peace prevail for all. I believe this is the vision and hope of President Putin and President Xi, and it's the hope that we lift to the heavens today.